and radio stations out of business. It's time to modernize Washington's restrictions on TV and radio station ownership. Text radio to 39179 and tell policymakers to let local stations compete. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It's always great to save money, and no better place to save money than InsaneRadioDeals.com. Head to the site right now for gift cards to Buttercup and Friends, Oliver's on Rivermont, the Caribbean Jerk Pod, and much more. Insane Radio Deals also has great experiences like Rise Up Climbing. Insane Radio Deals, so great they make you go insane. InsaneRadioDeals.com. Head to the site right now before they run out. That is InsaneRadioDeals.com.
You're listening to WVGM AM and FM Lynchburg, now powered by ESPN Radio and streaming at VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years with the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Spring's here, finally. So visit Leesville Landscape Supplies for a slam dunk on your next home or business landscape project. Get the region's best mulch, plus decorative stone, propane, block, and hardscape materials, routine lawn care. Leesville Landscape Supplies has grass seed, fertilizer, straw, and topsoil, even hardwood mulch, dyed mulch, pine mulch, gravel, and sand. Start your spring project at Leesville Landscape Supplies at the corner of Water Lake and Leesville Road in Lynchburg. And pick there or have it delivered. Search 24/7 at LeesvilleLandscapes.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist, at Bartlett Tree Experts or go to bartlett.com.
Hey there, Jane Lynch here. You want to hear something funny? Too bad. You want to hear something uplifting that will inspire you? Good. Because today, I want to talk to you about Direct Relief, a humanitarian organization that does seriously good work when it counts. Fires, hurricanes, earthquakes. When disaster strikes, Direct Relief immediately shows up with medicines, medical supplies, and everything doctors and nurses need to save lives. Let's ship her out! Every day across the United States and around the world, they're making an enormous difference. If someone needs help, Direct Relief helps. No politics, no red tape. Hey, what you doing over there?
Oh, I'm packing insulin for kids with diabetes.
See, every box here is literally a lifeline for someone in critical need. So check them out at directrelief.org and donate if you can. You might just bring a smile to someone's face.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
That green jacket that I wore, not the one that you've seen me wear that looks like I won at Augusta National, even though I would struggle to hit a 3-putt on a putt-putt golf course or a miniature golf or whatever you want to call it. The green jacket that I wore for the TrostLaw.com Fast Take over, well, not at, but basically out in front of Bel Air, LA, Liberty Arena today, the one I'm holding up now at VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube, or Fast Lane Ed Lane for the evidence there as I get rid of it because it's 95 degrees in our studio. That is not because of George Mason, Liberty's opponent tonight. It is just because it is St. Patrick's Day. I'm not Irish in my family, but my wife is part Italian, part Irish. Every element of the emotional spectrum and fire that you could possibly imagine comes out from that unique combination. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, Liberty at George Mason tonight, 6 o'clock p.m. tip-off from Northern Virginia for the NIT. There are a couple of ways to look at this. One of them is the delineation between Power 5 programs. I'm lumping the Big East into this discussion. And then Roy, as Dabo Swinney would call him, the rest of y'all, everybody else. Because for the power programs that are mercenary based, I just think in this day and age, it's going to be harder than ever to actually get the players to buy into any type of concept. I get it. We heard from David Cunningham of TechSideline.com yesterday. If you missed it, Fast Lane, Ed Lane, however you listen to podcasts, including YouTube and Facebook Live, because
and guess what? We keep receipts.
Right there. Emotional attachment to Virginia Tech fans, people that went there and have the ties. You play at Tech, you keep going until it is over. But for everybody else, I don't know if you can even compare this to anything else. Bowl games in college football are the NIT in college basketball. Like in professional sports, and let's be real, or college athletics, at the men's basketball, maybe women's, but certainly men's basketball and football level. They're professional sports. They don't have postseason competition that isn't for keeps. Like in the NBA, would you opt out of the playing game? It still is for the right to play to get into the NBA playoffs. The NHL and NBA after the play-in are two sides, West and East, of 8 teams each, 16 total. The NFL, 14 teams aside, AFC, NFC, split down the middle, 7-7. But it's all meaningful postseason action. College football playoff, it's meaningful. For every Bo Prabula, yes, sorry, Virginia fans, to bring that name up, because he's one of their quarterbacks, along with Eli Holstein, the Pitt transfer. But Prabula was the one who opted out of Penn State in the middle of a playoff run, even though he was not the starter. He was a used backup in packages and had a role, bailed on his team to go to Missouri because of the transfer portal window. Those are anomalies in the more meaningful playoff. But the NIT is different. Like, I just don't think you can expect that players that are there for, let's be real here, more than anything else, they are there for, as Kenny Powers always likes to remind us,
dollar bills, y'all.
that their loyalty is going to be to anything else, which is why the Mike Young comment to David Teal, it's at by David Teal on David's Twitter account. We've retweeted it at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, and it's been all over the place. Why this comment, just to me, is not an evisceration of Mike Young the way people might make it out to be. It's more an indication of how much the game has changed over the last 2 years from when Mike Young answered this from David Teal to how he and Virginia Tech seemingly felt, at least the coaches and players, by not unanimously being on board with playing in the NIT, which begins tonight.
Mike, would you like to continue playing with this squad? Would you welcome a bid? Would you welcome an NIT bid to continue your season?
Yeah, absolutely, David. Absolutely. To play in the postseason, sign me up. We all want to play in the big one, but to coach these guys again and make a run at that thing, you doggone right. I'm never going to be too big for my pants that won't be the opportunity to play in the postseason. I don't care what anybody says, not what all of us want to do, but it is still a great tournament, and I'd like to do that.
That was Mike Young to David Teal 2 years ago after the ACC tournament. And people are asking, most notably media people and Virginia Tech fans, well, what changed? My thing is everything changed. The prevalence of NIL, how higher level Division I athletes are motivated. It's not about state U anymore. It's much more the professional mindset. Oh, we'll play hard for, we'll just use the NFL terms, the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Giants, or the Eagles. But if one of the other teams offers us more money in the offseason, we're going there if we're not tethered. College athletics, they're not tethered to a school at any point. And it's just that mindset. versus, and I think there's another comparison here. I think the NIT may even be having more of a feel of, I know Auburn's in it, but like Liberty and George Mason. I would love for that to be a matchup that becomes a more regular matchup for Liberty over the course of time. I'd love to see them play VCU. I know that there's challenges with the schedules at the higher end, and maybe VCU views themselves in that category. But I'd love to see Liberty play these regional Virginia schools where there's a rivalry, there's a level of interest. Because they got NC State on the schedule this year. They've had Alabama before. But outside of that, it's a real challenge. Versus you had a lot of these games. You're still in a one-bid league, but your non-conference schedule could be more meaningful. And I think tonight is an example of that in postseason play. Yes, Auburn is in Liberty's region for the NIT. If you didn't know, we filled you in. But Virginia Tech abstained from the NIT. Florida State, fellow ACC school, they decided not to participate. A couple of years ago, it's been Wake Forest and Pitt. Like, this is a trend that happens at power programs because I think it's just harder to get players to care about it at that level versus at a school like Liberty and at their particular level where the interest is much higher. And yes, there may be players from a Liberty tonight or a George Mason tonight. Surely there will be who transfer out. Some of them may even transfer up. But they weren't looked at favorably coming out of high school. So that's where, even for those players, much less the seniors like Liberty's 8 seniors, notably Matheny, Porter, and Cleveland, why Richie McKay, when he spoke right before senior day about the brotherhood being real, I think this is applicable at a level like Liberty or George Mason in a way that it's just not at Virginia Tech or Florida State. And frankly, I don't know if it'll ever be.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie, obviously, I'm incredibly grateful for them. Like these words are, they express feelings, but I think more importantly, those guys know the depth of gratitude that I have that I got a chance to be in their lives and will continue to be even after they've left college. Like that's part of who our program is. Like the brotherhood, the connection, the genuine family that I think God has helped bring together here. I think it's real.
That's Richie McKay, and I don't doubt that at all. I think it's why a school like Liberty is glad to be in the NIT, and George Mason seemingly is as well, even though Tony Skinn, their coach, may be heading out. Most people think the logical destination could be Providence, given his ties there. But in spite of that, Liberty may be losing Brett Decker. I'd be shocked if he comes back to Liberty. Skinn may leave George Mason. But in spite of that, there still is a level of connection at that level, whereas I think it's just harder to get that. For every good power program, Virginia's in this camp. Obviously, your Dukes, your Houstons, your Arizonas, your Floridas that have had UConns that have had continued success. There are going to be others like Virginia Tech and Florida State where there just isn't a lot of brotherhood, and it's really hard to manufacture that versus Liberty. It is, and I think it's why you'll see, I wouldn't say never a power program that participates in the NIT, but I think you'll have fewer of those, and I don't think it's bad. I think the quality of play will be good because a Liberty and a George Mason want to be there. And so while it's not the NCAA tournament, it still is exciting. And for Liberty, they'll lose guys to the portal. Obviously, they're losing a lot to graduation, but there's so much more you can add on to that because of the cultural element that, and it's different at Liberty, to be real, from other places. Meanwhile, somebody who's got great perspective on college athletics, certainly on the Liberty Flames. He's had his finger on the pulse for years for a seaofred.com. He is their founder, and he joins us now in the fast lane. John Manson, back with us once again. John, great to be speaking with you. Am I on to something or am I off something in terms of, schools like Liberty and George Mason relishing the opportunity to just keep playing and keep their brotherhood together, whereas at bigger programs, you'll see it and the talent is higher, but if they don't make the NCAA tournament, it seems the buy-in is really hard to maintain when you get to something like the NIT.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think it's a good point you're making, and it's certainly true. I think it's something Liberty, it's hard to say they're happy or incredibly excited to be in the NIT because anybody in the NIT is, they've had a good season, but ultimately they're disappointed they didn't get to the big dance, and Liberty's no exception to that. I mean, returning that big three of Porter, Matheny, and Cleveland off of a team last year that made it to the NCAA tournament, and they certainly had their eyes set on getting back to that level. But at the same time, once you have a day or a few days to kind of let that sting of the loss in the Conference USA Tournament quarterfinals to Missouri State kind of wear off a little bit, then I think that this group can be one that can say, hey, let's go out and give it our best shot. And certainly it's going to be a tough game tonight. The Flames are underdogs on the road against a really good A-10 team in George Mason. But it's one that, they'll go down fighting. And, maybe it's a chance for them to kind of change the last chapter of their story if they're able to make a special run in the NIT.
Yeah, a lot of this goes back to the brotherhood, and we played the comment from Richie McKay. It's not the only one. I mean, you've got plenty of them at aseaofred.com and A Sea of Red on Twitter and Instagram, and we've had plenty at Fastlane, Ed Lane on our platforms as well, John. But how much of the brotherhood at Liberty literally does make their situation so unique to college athletics, maybe even to Liberty in the future, but certainly to college athletics, where it seems like even though the sting of the loss to Missouri State was there and will probably still be there for a while, they just like being together, and that's part of why they're playing in the NIT.
Yeah, I mean, that's something special that, Coach McKay has built at Liberty in this program. And we've talked about it multiple times over the past several weeks and even years, just how much, these guys want to play for the name on the front of the jersey more than just the name on the back. And of course, that doesn't mean that Liberty's immune to players transferring. And you mentioned Decker, and I think he's a guy that, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he were to transfer out after this year, looking to play at a higher level. But, Liberty's not immune to that, but it's also a very unique place, a very unique program, and something Coach McKay has been able to tap into. And more than your average mid-major or low-major program, the Flames are able to keep those players connected and keep guys like Colin Porter and Zach Cleveland and even a Caden Matheny at his second stop, playing for 3 years. Talking about, we heard Caden, late in the season this year, talk about how, he was in a dark place in playing college basketball when he was at Bowling Green, and maybe even considered not even continuing with his college basketball career. But he said that, due in large part to Coach McKay and the rest of the team and staff, that Liberty had changed his outlook on college basketball. So it's certainly a unique program, a special program that Coach McKay has built, where that brotherhood certainly is a key part of it. And it'll be interesting to see if Coach McKay is able to keep that together, moving forward, especially when you're talking about, like you mentioned, losing 8 seniors to graduation. So not unlike the last couple of seasons where you have a lot of turnover, like you might have more guys coming in next season through the transfer portal than Coach McKay has typically had.
So you brought up that point. I'm going to, we'll call it a tease. We're going to hold off on asking John Manson about all of that, because once the men's basketball season ends, that's when we can really get into roster reconstruction for the Liberty Flames. Am I off base, though, in this observation? I know, all of us, you, me, Bryce, and Gordon have kind of discussed this, and he'll have his takes on the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle probably Wednesday. If I'm off on the dates, Trey can certainly correct me tomorrow from 7 to 8 a.m. on the VTRN Sports app. But we've all discussed that if there was ever a time for Richie McKay to leave Liberty, it would happen. But I still think it's less than 50% chance, maybe by a lot, that he would actually leave. I'm more convinced of that now because I look at some of the openings in college basketball and I just go, yeesh. I mean, look in the ACC. I mean, Boston College with not much NIL funding. Georgia Tech doesn't seem to have a lot, although they seem to be narrowing in. Syracuse, I think they probably will go with McNamara, the Syracuse guy. And it's not just there. It seems like a lot of the common denominators of the openings that are popping up in college basketball right now they're open for a reason, which means they may not be all that attractive versus Liberty. Sure, they don't have the budget of your biggest programs in power basketball, but relative to their peers, they have one. And certainly McKay is as beloved and has as long of a leash as any.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Ed, it's obvious for me to say that none of us are inside of Coach McKay's head and know exactly his feelings about potentially leaving Liberty and going elsewhere, or even stepping away from the game, similar to one of his close friends and Tony Bennett did a couple years ago at UVA. So I don't know, but I do anticipate that Coach McKay, kind of similar to like what Hugh Freeze said on the football side of things for so many years when he was at Liberty before he left for Auburn, talking about how special of a place it was and that he wouldn't leave at the first opportunity, and it didn't sound like he did. And I think Coach McKay's the same way. Like, he didn't leave at his first opportunity to leave the Flames since coming back from Virginia, several years ago. And that doesn't mean he won't leave. It doesn't mean that he's going to retire at Liberty. But I think regardless of how his career plays out, he's 60 years old, so he's getting closer and closer towards finishing up whatever his coaching career is. And that could be 10, 15 years from now, or it could be this off season. But he's getting to the point where, I think as Liberty fans and alumni and followers of the program, I don't think you can have any ill will towards Coach McKay for whatever he determines to do, just based on what he's done to the program and completely changed the trajectory, the landscape, just the feeling around the program. I mean, Liberty's gone from being, an afterthought in mid-major college basketball to, a respected program. And I heard you talking about scheduling just a few minutes ago, and Liberty's been unable to get, a lot of those high majors, and I don't think that's anything that's going to change. But being able to get a home and home with Dayton, that's in the A-10 alongside George Mason and VCU, that's a huge win for Liberty, and something that the Flames wouldn't have been able to do, even 5 years ago, certainly 10 to 15 years ago, before Coach McKay was at the helm and has been able to turn this thing around. And maybe it'll lead to being able to get some home and homes with a George Mason or a VCU, as Liberty has continually shown over the last 7 or 8 years that they're a respected program, a program that's going to win 20-plus games more times than not, and a program that's going to compete for an NCAA tournament and now an NIT invitation, which the Flames have done twice now in the last 4 years.
I'm going to commit a curse in the School of Journalism. Would you like, and how feasible, would you like to see Liberty have a rematch regardless of what happens tonight at George Mason with the Patriots? And would you like to see a series? And do you think it's even feasible that George Mason and Liberty could engage in one?
I mean, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you want to have a team like a George Mason on your schedule? I mean, I think it would work for both teams. You look at Liberty and being in Conference USA, which spans from Delaware to Miami and all the way out to New Mexico, and not unlike the A-10, which is a widespread league, geographically speaking, as well too. I think it'd be good to have a game that's 3.5 hour bus ride for each team that they're able to get to and their fans are able to get to, and develop a little bit of local interest and rivalry. And same thing with VCU, another type of program that I'm sure Liberty would be interested in pursuing, and probably has tried to pursue those type of things. But at the same time, for a George Mason or a VCU to entertain that, they have to, or even a Richmond, another A-10 program from the Commonwealth, they have to feel like it's worth their while. And maybe Liberty's done enough now to prove that it can be a quad 2, maybe even a potentially quad 1 game based on what Coach McKay's done in the last, like I said, 7 or 8 years. But yeah, those are certainly attractive games and games that I would love for Liberty to be able to see and get on their schedule. And you're not able to get these high majors, but I think being able to go after some of these more attractive mid-major programs, think of like a Belmont or other regional teams like a High Point or others that have had a lot of success, not just in their own conferences, but even on a national scale. That's something that Liberty can and should pursue for non-conference basketball schedules.
It would be awesome to see more of that. John, we'll pivot off of that. A couple more thoughts. One, we're going to stick with basketball. The last one is going to be more schedule related. You're going to help me troubleshoot a problem here, which you didn't even know I had, but here we go in a second. For basketball, we've talked Liberty men's basketball, Liberty women's basketball. They won 7 of 9 entering the Conference USA tournament. It turned into 8 of 11. They got the win against Sam Houston in dominant fashion. And they lost by 13 to Louisiana Tech, but that game was a lot closer than the final margin indicated. How impressed were you by the February/March job that the Lady Flames did in their young core and their new first-year head coach, Alexis Sherrard?
I mean, I think if you would have gone back to January and would have said, this would have been the finish, I think any Liberty fan would have taken it. Certainly Coach Sherrard and the team as well too. And ultimately, they fell short of being able to win the conference tournament down in Huntsville, Conference USA tournament, falling to Louisiana Tech, who was the toast of the town, certainly in Conference USA throughout the season. Only lost one game all conference season, and had, I believe it was an 18-game win streak after they beat Liberty, and they ultimately lost to Missouri State, were upset there in the conference championship game. But, I think it goes to show, like, the job that Coach Sherrard did. The team got better as the season went on. They were able to overcome injuries, and the team continued to build together and grow and like I said, get better as the season went on. So it kind of says, like, Coach Sherrard in his first year as a head coach, like, should give you confidence, from Liberty's fan base in Coach Sherrard and the job he did, and should be hopeful and optimistic, as Coach Sherrard said in his post-game press conference from the loss, that, for the future of this program, especially when you look at, how many underclassmen are on this team. And again, the transfer portal is always that big hairy elephant in the room that you have to be concerned with. And Liberty's, could potentially lose some key players there, but all their primary rotation players are expected to return, have eligibility to return next season, and especially like an Ife Nawabi and Avery Mills and Emmy Stout. Like, that big three has multiple years of eligibility remaining. Liberty's able to secure them, certainly for at least for next season. You would expect this team being able to add to that nucleus. You would think that they would be able to compete for a Conference USA tournament or Conference USA championship next year after this 1 year down year, if you want to call it that, where they still finished tied for third place and we're right in the mix of things going into Huntsville.
Looking forward to more of that next year, John. Your answer was so thorough and in-depth on the Lady Flames. We'll pivot off of our scheduling conundrum question for the next time because it involves a court case, and we know those things just get resolved so fast in this day and age. John, thank you for your time in the fast lane. If you want the fast track to Liberty Flames analysis, that's easy. ASeaofRed.com and A Sea of Red on Twitter, and JC Manson as well. John, thank you for making time for us once again today here in the fast lane.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Ed.
Our pleasure. John Manson with us here in the fast lane. We would have gotten to that scheduling question, but we have bracket assistance coming. Women's and men's basketball tournament brackets with Debbie Antonelli. You heard her on the Selection Show special from Westwood One on Sunday. You'll hear plenty more over the month of March and early April. Men's and women's basketball, we've got it all for you for March Madness, including the first 4 games tonight and tomorrow before TJ and I get displaced. Well, tomorrow, Tech Baseball, but Thursday and Friday by March Madness. So we help you when we return in the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app and VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube.
Do you love the 80s? Whether you were Team Madonna or Prince, this night is for you. Hi, I'm Kelly Diaz with Casa of Central Virginia, inviting you to Retro Rewind, our totally rad 80s party for a great cause. Join us April 11th from 6 to 10 at the Boonesboro Ruritan Club for an awesome 80s DJ, arcade games, dance floor, and more. Best of all, every ticket helps CASA volunteers advocate for children who have experienced abuse or neglect in our community. Grab your friends, moonwalk over to cvcasa.org, and get your tickets before they're gone.
Feller Chevrolet is now Apple Chevrolet. While the name's changed, we're still the same trusted Feller's team. Same management, same knowledgeable parts and service, same techs, same professional sales staff. With over 200 years of collective experience, we'll continue growing stronger alongside our community. From the newest Chevrolets to top quality pre-owned vehicles, Apple Chevrolet delivers the same unmatched customer service. Visit us at driveapple.com. Apple Chevrolet of Alta Vista, powered by the community we serve.
Midday hunger hitting you hard? Swing by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday lunch specials. Whether you're craving a classic crunch or something fresh, we've got you covered. Chicken tender basket featuring crispy golden tenders served with fries. The Macadoo's Chef Salad, a healthy, loaded favorite that will hit the spot. Hit back against your lunchtime hunger at Macadoo's with eats that won't break the bank.
It's time to share, breaking that ball. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Do's.
When you walk into Haley's, you see the size and selection of a big box store. Over 19,000 square feet of appliances and mattresses. Leading appliances like KitchenAid, Whirlpool, Maytag, Genair, Speed Queen, GE, and Monogram. And mattresses like Sealy, Serta, and Tempur-Pedic. So what's the difference? A family, locally owned business and a staff committed to servicing you over the entire life of the product. That means before, during, and well after your purchase. Visit Haley's today, just off Ward Road in Lynchburg. Haley's, quality that counts.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg, Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Whether you're facing a tough season or looking for support to overcome life's obstacles, Central Virginia Counseling is here for you. Central Virginia Counseling is accepting new clients at both Lynchburg locations on Wigington Road and Timberlake Road. And telehealth is available anywhere in Virginia. Serving children, teens, and adults, our counselors are equipped with diverse skill sets to help you on your journey. For more information, visit us at centralvirginiacounseling.com.
Looking for everything happening in and around Central Virginia that used to be in the morning paper? Start your day at the lynchburgportal.com. Get the latest news updates from Bill Trevero, plus up-to-date weather from VTRN's own in-house meteorologist, Matt Ferguson. So you're always in the know before you head out the door. Want to listen on the go? Stream classic hits on Rewind 103.9. Get breaking local news on WIQO, or catch the best sports talk and play-by-play on VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio, all right from the portal. Looking to save? Check out insane radio deals for great local discounts, or explore local podcasts featuring the voices and stories that make our community special. Plus, connect with local businesses through the Lynchburg Business Alliance directory and stay in the loop on the latest events from Lynchburg tourism. It's all right here. Local news, weather, sports, deals, and more at the lynchburgportal.com. Your gateway to everything Lynchburg.
Hi, I'm Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech Hokies men's basketball. Start jumping. This is your home for the Hokies. VTRN Sports 93.3 FM and the VTRN Sports app.
Hey, this is Virginia Tech analyst and former Hokies tight end Mike Burnham. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
TJ, a question for you before we get to Debbie Antonelli. Have you filled out your brackets yet?
I filled out 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That is you.
A little crazy.
I know I'm a one guy each, men's and women's bracket. Sometimes the women's, like, I know it sounds horrible to say.
Right.
I think UConn is your just national. Like, Texas can be a challenger. I don't fault anybody for South Carolina, although maybe not as dominant as they've been in prior years.
Yeah.
I mean, UConn looks loaded. They got the projected number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. I mean, they're really good. They're undefeated for a reason. The men's is wide open. Yeah. So it's a completely different feel. And I think our men's maybe similar vibes, but different when we get to that in 5:45 today here in the Fast Lane. We'll kind of give our best ofs at that point. But we're going to, I don't know if you call it cheating, we're going to get a little tutorial assistance on brackets and filling them out from someone. I don't know if she fills out the brackets, but she certainly is qualified to touch on the men's and women's.
I'll fill one out for her if she would like.
Yeah, Debbie Antonelli. You've heard her on the Selection Show special from Westwood One this past Sunday. You'll hear her as part of our coverage of March Madness on the VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM. We have first 4 action tonight and tomorrow. We've got tournament action all of this weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll have women's and men's Sweet 16 and Elite 8 action, Final 4. We're going to be kind of stumbling all over ourselves, so we ask for forgiveness of our listeners, and we are glad to welcome in Debbie Antonelli to the Fast Lane. Debbie, thank you for making time for us in the middle of your busy schedule. Are you a bracket person? And if so, have you filled out your men's and women's brackets yet?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Yes, I have filled out a bracket for the men and the women. I only fill out one bracket.
Yes, my type of person. One bracket, easy to remember. Then you don't have to worry about rooting interests getting conflated. The women's side, we'll start with that. Big picture, is it UConn and everybody else?
Yeah, they're so good. I've been referencing UConn as a metronome. It's like pass, cut, space, pass, cut. I mean, they are robotic in some ways, but also unscripted at the same time. They are so skilled. They have two elite players in AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong, and their storyline has been incredible all season. Another year where they're undefeated and trying to win their 13th national championship.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing if they're able to pull that off. There's no doubt about the success that they've had, and it's been clear and evident. We have teams in the Commonwealth of Virginia, though, that are in the tournament as well. So we're going to pivot off of the obvious favorite to win the tournament, the UConn Lady Huskies. Virginia, they made the play-in game. They'll have that on Thursday. They're a 10 seed. They're playing to try to get one of the 64 field berths. Overall, your assessment of this team, and if there's enough around Mo Johnson to do more than just win on Thursday and actually make some noise in this.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the progress that Coach Mox has made at Virginia. It has not been an easy run, but the portal pieces that she picked up have made them longer and more athletic, bigger on the front line, and gave Mo some help. Mo Johnson's a terrific first-team All-ACC point guard who can do a little bit of everything, but she definitely needed to get some more help. I actually thought she might play a few less minutes that would keep her more effective late game. But they've got a chance to win 2 games. Arizona State has a new head coach. They play very much defensive-minded. They're going to bring 2 to the ball, and I think that's going to benefit the length and the size of Virginia. And then they have Georgia next. And if they can win against Arizona State, I think they actually have a chance to get 2 wins.
If that happens, how big of a cap will it be on a year for the Lady Hoos, where they took the step they needed to of getting to the tournament? But if you can start winning that, then you can start stacking that with Coach Mox in this program.
I think it just builds some connectivity across all the things that you emphasize and what you put as forward as your plan and vision for the season. I was there in the fall. I spent a day with the team. I did a variety of things with them. And I came away from there knowing that they were going to be an NCAA tournament team. As a matter of fact, at the ACC tip-off show, that was one of my 3 storylines. Virginia will return to the NCAA tournament. So I'm glad they made me look like I knew what I was talking about.
Well, it's always good when that happens. I mean, we pat ourselves on the back and get hurt doing that in the fast lane because it doesn't happen very often. You do it more regularly for the ACC network and Westwood One, and we've seen her, we'll hear more of her over March Madness on the VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM. It's Debbie Antonelli. She is with us here in the fast lane, pivoting from the Lady Hoos to the Lady Hokies. They got back there in year 2 of the Megan Duffy era. Are you excited? I mean, this seems like a real fun first-round matchup against Oregon.
I think it's fun. I agree with you. I think it's fun because there's not one distinguishing quality about Virginia Tech or Oregon to me. They both are so solid in what they do. They match up so well. I think the committee got this one right. I also think Virginia Tech may have gotten a better seed than NC State, which I find kind of hard to believe. But I think they got a real chance here against Oregon because Oregon's really solid. Kelly Graves is experienced in the tournament. Obviously, he's taken teams to the Final Four. But Megan Duffy has worked so hard to build the culture around this program. And they got some really good, winnable pieces. They've got veteran leadership and Carly Wenzel and Karis Baker. And then Megan did a great job in the portal as well, bringing Freelon in. I think Samaya Suffren doesn't get enough credit in this lineup because she changes tempo and rhythm when she comes in the game.
You mentioned that with the Lady Hokies and Samaya Suffren. How much more, comparing last year to this year and the progress for Megan Duffy, is it reasonable to say they've just got more ways they can beat a team from last year to this year, which is why they're in this spot?
I think that's why I say there's not one really distinguishable quality about them. They're so solid in every area, and they play well together. The ball doesn't stick, they move it, and when you've got 2 leaders like Wenzel and Baker that have a sense of urgency, they've been with the program a long time, and they were there when Kenny Brooks was there going to the Final Four. These 2 young women know what it takes to win at this level, and I think that's a quality that is hard to come by for some teams. And that's why when I say there's not a distinguishable characteristic about either one of these teams, I mean that as a compliment.
You mentioned Kenny Brooks. So appropriate that you bring up the name of the former Virginia Tech Hokies basketball coach because his team will be playing against the JMU Lady Dukes. They have been red hot. They have not dropped a game since losing to Arkansas State in that weather-altered game at the end of January. Are the Lady Dukes alive to give Kenny Brooks' Kentucky Lady Wildcats fits in Morgantown on Saturday?
I'm sure when Kenny saw that matchup, he probably chuckled because Sean O'Regan was one of his assistants at JMU before he took the Virginia Tech job. Sean and he are friends, I would imagine. And this is a really interesting matchup. You know, Kentucky has such great length, and they are so solid up front. Their size is a problem for most teams, and I think that's what will be a problem for JMU is ultimately the size on the glass, Clara Strack's ability to pick and pop and pick and roll. And then Toni Morgan has had her best year playing the point position, who came as a transfer from Georgia Tech. And Kenny has a way with point guards. And so I really like Kentucky in this one, and I like what Kenny is building at UK.
Kenny Brooks from JMU to Virginia Tech to Kentucky, and now it comes full circle as he'll be playing the JMU Lady Dukes in that 5-12 matchup on Saturday. We've touched on the Virginia teams in the women's tournament, Virginia teams in the men's tournament with Debbie Antonelli, who's with us here in the Fast Lane. Debbie, you've seen quite a bit of the Virginia Tech Hokies and the Virginia Cavaliers. First of all, just an overview. I don't like painting people into a corner, but one of the topics in our backyard has been the Virginia Tech Hokies' decision for the men's team to not play in the NIT after missing the NCAA tournament. Your overview, was as much as you care to share on that decision?
Yeah, you know what? I actually, leaving the arena after that game against Wake Forest, which I called, I did ask a few people what they thought. And here's what you got to understand. Like, the climate in basketball is so different. These kids are pros. They're not even kids anymore. They're really professionals. And all the, football doesn't play in the bowl games. Basketball players don't want to play in the NIT. I get it. I'm tired of trying to figure out why or how that matters. And certainly with my opinion, but if Coach Young asked his players and they didn't want to play, then that's the decision you have to go with as a program. And if that's the case, then that's just what you got to do. And you just got to start building and getting ready for next year.
Debbie Antonelli with us in the Fast Lane from the Hokies, who are not in the NCAA tournament, to the Virginia Cavaliers, who you'll be hearing. And in a cruel twist, we're going to be doing some scheduling gymnastics Friday because they play basically around the same time as Oregon and Virginia Tech in the Lady Hokies first-round matchup. For Virginia, just what they showed against Duke in the championship game of the ACC tournament. I know it's a loss. I know Ryan Odom doesn't celebrate moral victories. But was that a big step to showing that they could hang with the Duke team that just a couple of weeks earlier they really didn't look like they were able to handle?
Their front line is so solid, and their rim pressure and rim presence is a factor in this tournament. There's no question about it. And definitely you saw it on display against Duke. Cameron Boozer kept trying to attack Oniensu, and he just kept swatting it back. And he did that to NC State, and he did that to I can't even think of who they played, just Miami. So look, I'm not worried about Ryan Odom's team. I think they got 2 wins in them in this tournament, and then they're going to get up against Iowa State, and then that's going to be a really good game because Iowa State likes to bring 2 to the ball. They move it. But I think Virginia is built to take on any sort of style or pace. They've got size. They've got excellent veteran point guard play with Dallin Hall at the front of their offense, and then they've got a lot of shot makers that come off the bench, including Chance Mallory, who I think is one of the best freshmen in the nation that nobody talks about.
For Virginia, you mentioned them going up against Iowa State. That's kind of a coin flip type game if they were to meet up in the Sweet 16. But for Virginia, relative to last year, relative to expectations, is that the reasonable success measure for the Hoos this year? Is if you can get by Tennessee and get to Iowa State, it's more icing on the cake of an already good season.
I'm sure they have higher aspirations. There's some people that think they're an Elite Eight team, that they can get all the way to the second weekend and play in the Elite Eight game. And I'm sure there's people that have picked Virginia in their bracket to do so, and I could understand why. I think it's been a successful season. I'm not sure how Ryan Odom measures it. If you worry about outcomes only, then you'll never find success. And I think the journey, the process, all those cliche things that we talk about along the way that sound like coach speak really matter. This team got better. As the season went on, they got better. I had them early in the season against Maryland at home. I thought they played well, but, they let Maryland back in the game at one point, and then I had them in the double overtime game on the road at Notre Dame, and then, of course, watching them in the ACC tournament. There's no question in my mind they got better. They're built to win in March because of the things I mentioned earlier, their depth, their size, their rim pressure, rim presence, and their ability to make shots. When the play breaks down, they have players that can make a play. All those things are really important in March when the game slows down.
So we'll wrap it up with Debbie Antonelli on this one, and we're grateful to be speaking with her. You'll hear more on Westwood One's coverage of March Madness. We've got so much of it coming up, including the first 4 games tonight here on VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM here in Lynchburg. For you, who else do you have joining Virginia from the ACC in the Sweet 16?
I have Duke going all the way to the championship game against Arizona. I think they do have a tough bracket. I don't think it's going to be easy for them. I think Clemson will beat Iowa, and I think North Carolina will win their first round game. But I have Illinois coming out of that bottom part of the bracket, and where Florida is the number 1. So I'm really excited about NC State tonight, though. This is a good one for the Wolfpack against Texas. When you line them up on paper, they look very much the same, but Texas has more size up front, and a big guy at the rim has been a problem for NC State all season. They can't turn the ball over. They got to play exceptionally hard, and if they do that and they stay connected, I think they'll win. They need a good win, and this has been a great year for Will Wade.
It has. If you can get there, it's more, and it's kind of a program foundation laying type season, as well as Virginia has experienced that, much like some of the others in the ACC. Miami can be included in that category as well.
Oh, I love Miami. I didn't mean to leave them out. Yes, I'm just kind of glancing over the bracket at, yes, Miami. I've been a big fan of Jay Lucas and what he's done. I love his team. I've got them winning a couple of games in the tournament.
All right, we like that. That's a. Would Miami be qualified as maybe the sleeper team, if nothing more than the fact nobody's really talked about them?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the way it went across the ACC as well. I had them multiple times. And Trey Donaldson is a tough, physical, two-way point guard. Shelton Henderson, a freshman, who is another one of those freshmen that all season I kept calling him the other freshman. I put Chance Mallory on that list as well. Abdallah, also at Virginia Tech. These are guys that they weren't on the top line for the great freshmen in the league. They were the other freshmen that nobody really talked about that could have been a really, really good. I would have loved to seen the 5 freshmen that we talked about all the time against the other 5 freshmen in the league. That would have been a game I would have bought a ticket for. I think that's how much talent's in the league.
Yes, there has been a lot. And, I had the privilege of seeing Miami as well. There has been a lot of good talent in this conference, much more upgraded than on prior years. Debbie, we appreciate your talented insight with us today in the Fast Lane. Thank you so much for carving time in the middle of your crazy schedule to join us and touch on the men's and women's basketball tournaments.
Thanks so much, Ed. Enjoy March.
We will. Debbie Antonelli with us here in the Fast Lane. It goes by quick. The month of March certainly does. But we've got it all for you right here on the VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM. When we return, because you care so much about our brackets, TJ and I will give our observations when we return in the Fast 5 at 5-ish on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
Here we grow again at the Sheeler Motor Mile. It's here, the all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From rugged trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, new or older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on a Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
Are you sick of running your dryer longer just to dry your clothes? It might not be a dying appliance. It might be a clogged up dryer vent. Call Black Goose Chimney Service to find out. Their certified ventilation specialists don't just diagnose chimneys. They also clean dryer vents through the entire ventilation system. Get peace of mind as you're protected from lint clogging your dryer vents, one of the most common causes of house fires. Call Black Goose Chimney Service today and visit blackgoose.net to schedule your dryer vent cleaning.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist at Bartlett Tree Experts, or go to bartlett.com.
Plenty of large insurance companies know something. If you're injured in an auto accident, it can feel overwhelming. They've defended themselves in thousands of personal injury cases while you've never been there. Thankfully, I have. Hi, I'm Dustin Rosser with Trost Law. I began my legal career defending insurance companies before joining Trost Law. I know how insurance companies think and how to navigate the complex legal system. So if you're injured and need someone to fight for you, just call me at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg, Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Hi, I'm Chuck from Aquatrack Adventures in Salem. The Virginia Talk Radio Network and InsaneRadioDeals.com have helped our company grow by sharing our company's message throughout Central and Southside Virginia. The gift cards and experiences sold on InsaneRadioDeals.com have brought us many new customers. If you're a business that wants to grow with a message that resonates and gets results, I highly recommend InsaneRadioDeals.com and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. Simply put, it works.
Do you love the 80s? Whether you were Team Madonna or Prince, this night is for you. Hi, I'm Kelly Diaz with Casa of Central Virginia, inviting you to Retro Rewind, our totally rad 80s party for a great cause. Join us April 11th from 6 to 10 at the Boonesboro Ruritan Club for an awesome 80s DJ, arcade games, dance floor, and more. Best of all, every ticket helps Casa volunteers advocate for children who have experienced abuse or neglect in our community. Grab your friends, moonwalk over to cvcasa.org, and get your tickets before they're gone.
Spring's here, finally. So visit Leesville Landscape Supplies for a slam dunk on your next home or business landscape project. Get the region's best mulch, plus decorative stone, propane, block, and hardscape materials, routine lawn care. Leesville Landscape Supplies has grass seed, fertilizer, straw, and topsoil, even hardwood mulch, dyed mulch, pine mulch, gravel, and sand. Start your spring project at Leesville Landscape Supplies at the corner of Water Lake and Leesville Road in Lynchburg, and pick there or have it delivered. Search 24/7 at LeesvilleLandscapes.com. Tuesday, the morning warm-up, Ty and I discussed how Virginia Tech is disrespecting its fan base by declining the NIT bid they were offered, and we also talked a little bit about how Liberty will fare in the aforementioned NIT. Wednesday, reaction to their NIT game against George Mason, and more on their season with Bryson Gordon, newsadvance.com. Join us on the morning warm-up, weekday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 a.m. on the VTRN Sports app.
Hi, this is Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech men's basketball. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
We got kind of a flavored version of the Fast Five at 5-ish, which comes your way right now.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
2 teams from the Commonwealth of Virginia are in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. One of them plays North Carolina. That would be VCU. The other plays Wright State, 1:30 tip-off. That'll be part of our coverage on the VTRN Sports app this coming Friday. We will have a little Lady Hokies, Lady Oregon Ducks basketball action as well. Coming up on Friday, we're going to kind of mix those coverages in for you on VTRN Sports. How far do you have the Virginia teams going, TJ?
Okay, so I will admit I do have VCU upsetting Carolina.
Ooh,
Very
spicy,
close.
spicy.
Very close, though.
That is very trendy.
But that's the furthest I've got them going. As for UVA, I have them winning a couple of games. I have them upsetting Tennessee. And then I have them meeting their end against Iowa State, though I do think they could upset Iowa State.
Look, I am with you in that category. I think Virginia's got a lot of ingredients to make a deep second weekend run. I think it would run against, they would end against Michigan, who I think, more on them in just a moment from me. But I think Virginia's run would likely end at that spot. But North Carolina. I've got them beating VCU. I think this is more of a coin flip game than the seed line would indicate. But the point spread's got it at, about 2.5, which I think is about right. I like Carolina to win, but it wouldn't shock me if VCU wins. I agree with the point spread projection on that one.
No, I think it'll be a very close game, and I won't be upset if Carolina wins because I do like Carolina. But I just think this VCU team is out to prove themselves, and I think a win against Carolina would do that. And
so we're going to funnel this differently in
number 4
ACC teams to make the Sweet 16. We're not going to bore you with our entire bracket.
Right.
TJ, I've got 2 of them. I'm with you. I've got Virginia making the Sweet 16. The other one that I've got making the Sweet 16 as well is Duke.
Yeah.
Because I think Caleb Foster will likely come back when it really matters. And Gumba, is injured as well. But I think Duke gets one of them back. I think it's enough.
Yeah, I think Duke and UVA in Sweet 16. It was a toss-up for me between Miami and Purdue, and then I remembered that UVA bullied Miami with their size, and Purdue has got even bigger size. So I have Miami losing just a game short.
Okay, gotcha. So you got them just a game short of the Sweet 16.
I do.
Meanwhile, all right, number 3, speaking of the Sweet 16,
number 3
highest seeded teams to make the Sweet 16 for you. Who do you have?
The highest teams. Wait, the highest? What do you?
Like, do you have a 12 seed in the Sweet 16?
Oh, yeah.
Or is 10 your highest? What is the highest, or what are the highest seeds that you have in the Sweet 16?
I think, honestly, the highest that I have would have to be BYU, in all honesty.
Oh, okay. You think AJ DeBonsa and BYU get hot when it really matters?
Yes, I do. I think that's the highest seed I've got. I want to believe in Cinderella, but NIL makes it so hard.
Look, that is my logic entirely. #logic, TJ. I've got 2 5 seeds that make the Sweet 16. St. John's is one of them. I have them losing to Duke, but they are a very trendy team for people to beat Duke with Zubi Ejiofor and obviously Rick Pitino. Love him or hate him. The guy is really good at coaching. And I've got Vanderbilt as well. I think they ride the wave of momentum that they've shown. I think it's good enough to get them to the Sweet 16. Okay, now comes the fun part of just breaking down the brackets. In
number 2,
who's in your Elite 8?
My Elite 8 is Duke, UConn, Vanderbilt, Houston, Arizona, Michigan, Iowa State.
All right, we're going to redo it.
Oh.
All right, you got Duke.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I got it wrong. You're correct. You got Duke, UConn.
Yeah.
Pause for a second. And then Vanderbilt, Houston.
In the South, yeah.
Okay.
Midwest, Michigan, and Iowa State. And after a toss-up, I decided Purdue and Arizona would represent the West.
Okay, we got some differences here. I've got Duke and UConn in there as well. I am with a lot of people. I think that could be spoiled in one of 2 scenarios. Yeah. Michigan State with Tom Izzo and Rick Pitino and St. John's. Either one of those could spoil that party. But I think we get Duke, UConn, in what will be a phenomenal Elite 8 matchup. Meanwhile, Florida, Illinois is the one that I've got. Illinois is kind of that trendy team that's been flying under the radar. Yeah. A lot of people like Houston, but I'm a little concerned about what they have size-wise inside compared to years past where they've had a Jaywan Roberts or a Jarris Walker. Yeah. I just don't see that guy on Houston this year. Like you, I've got Michigan and Iowa State in my Elite 8 as well. I have the Cyclones getting by the Hoos. And then I've got a fun one in the other regional in the West. I've got Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching Darius Acuff. Yeah. That kid plays the way you want to see a freshman in NIL world play. He has declined to step out of games because of injuries. He's got an over my dead body. I don't care what the agents are telling me. I love that. It's kind of an old school feel. I have them playing Gonzaga in the Elite 8.
Oh, Gonzaga.
Yeah.
They've got size. Gonzaga has size that I like. I think the reason I have BYU upsetting them is just because BYU plays so fast. And Gonzaga, if they're not able to control the tempo, they get lost.
I get to that in
number 1.
Because who gets to the Final Four and what happens from there? I've got Arkansas beating Gonzaga for that reason. I think Darius Acuff in particular can make the difference with that. I've got Michigan being too much for Iowa State. I know Michigan had kind of faltered in the Big Ten tournament. They also did so against Duke, but It never seemed like Michigan shot as well as they could. I've got Illinois beating Florida. I think Illinois is kind of that sneaky under the radar team that they're a 3, but nobody's talking about. And I've got the Duke Blue Devils getting to the Final Four. And then in my championship, I've got Michigan getting a revenge on Duke for the championship as Michigan lost to Duke a couple of weeks ago. TJ, your Final Four and championship outcomes are what?
I've got Duke and Houston meeting again, and I have Iowa State and Arizona.
Oh, okay. And what happens from there?
Duke beats Houston, Arizona beats Iowa State, and I have Arizona winning it all.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Arizona. I mean, I know they're a 1 seed, but I go whoa because they don't seem like the team that a lot of people are picking as the 1 seed.
But I do think they're like a dangerous team that no one is looking at, a team that can really compete, and I don't know, there's just something about them. I'm willing to take the risk on this one.
I mean, again, it's so much of a risk, you and I, because we're picking 1 seeds to beat other 1 seeds for the national championship.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that.
But it's this era. I mean, you hit the nail on the head earlier. In this day and age, it's not as outlandish to think you're going to get a number of 1, 2, 3 seeds in this thing when it comes down to it. It doesn't shock me if you get 2, 3, 4, 5 seed winning, because I think you're looking at the top 20 to top 25 of college basketball, and they're all spending a very large amount on their roster. I think what would surprise me more is getting those deeper seeded teams that are not well funded. That type of Cinderella is the one that would shock me the most.
Absolutely. I wish we could see another St. Peter's. Like, if I could, I would root so hard for Nolan Smith and his team to upset Iowa State. I really would. I just don't see it in that. And now it can still happen. Like, I have Hofstra upsetting Bama, because I think Bama, with all the things going on right now, Hofstra can use that to their advantage, and they're a darn good team. I have High Point upsetting Wisconsin. There's going to be upsets, but not as deep as the VCUs of 2011, Wichita State's before that, the St. Peter's, Loyolas, etc.
Sure, you may get seed line upsets, but it still may be teams from one of the bigger conferences that just happen to be your 10, 11 seeds, where you're like, okay, there's still the resources there. They just finally put it together when it mattered most. Meanwhile, we finally tied it up together and didn't go too far over in the fast lane on W227 BG Timberlake, WVGM Amlynchburg, WMNA, Gretna, Danville, Southside. Now for a brief minute on to Freddie and Harry in progress before it's 6:30. Playing game coverage here between UMBC and Howard, followed by Texas and NC State on your home for March Madness, the VTR and Sports app and 93.3 FM. We got Tech Baseball tomorrow and then March Madness Thursday and Friday. So we'll see you Monday in the fast lane.
I'll kick off the safe space for this Wednesday.
My safe space is the Belichick team. Man, the hell with Belichick, man.